Now, Peter Obi is a long-time entrepreneur, a business leader, and an eminent politician from Nigeria. Mr. Obi's sense of enterprise fostered his involvement in local and national Nigerian politics, including his role as Governor of Anambra. So please help me in welcoming him to the stage. Peter Obi.
Let me start by most sincerely thanking Prime Minister Hassania and the good people of Bangladesh for hosting us, and Lord Moreland and his team for organizing this workshop. We're here to discuss SMEs, and all of us knows that SMEs, like it's been mentioned by the President, today is the engine of growth in most countries of the world. Not just developing countries, but developed countries, the world. According to the last World Bank studies and survey, SMEs is about 90% of the businesses and creates over 50% of the job globally. In developing and emerging markets like Bangladesh, they contribute about 40% of the GDP. In Nigeria, is a similar situation, over 45% of the GDP. In places like China, they contribute over 60%, creating 7 out of every 10 jobs. In India, it's similar impact. So across the Commonwealth countries, you can say it's creating the same impact. Commonwealth country, as you know today, is the 56th nation of the Commonwealth, is about 2.5 billion in population, a third of the world, with over 1 billion young population and over 1 trillion in exports. However, the Commonwealth, if you look at the wealth of the Commonwealth, is about over 150 trillion. Which you can say is about 10 times the size of the GDP of the Commonwealth, because the last time I looked at the Commonwealth GDP, total GDP is about 14.5 trillion. And over 30 times the total world export of about 5 trillion. What we are going to discuss today is the issue of how to formalization and internationalization of SMEs, which is critical for the Commonwealth as a family. By supporting, internationalizing, and formalizing the SMEs, would have created wealth across the entire world, because Commonwealth countries exist in almost 5 continents of the world. So by formalizing and internationalizing SMEs, you actually come across the entire world by ensuring the growth of this engine of development. But there's a problem within the SMEs, which I'm sure the panelists will be giving attention to. While this critical engine of growth is what is desired in today's world to be able to develop, especially, I keep saying, within the Commonwealth family, because if you look at the scope of what they are going to add is huge. If you look at the global economy, while I said they are a third of the population of the world, but if you look at the world GDP, it's about 100 trillion, and and you look at the GDP of the Commonwealth is 14.5 trillion, which means they're just about 15% of it. If you look at the per capita, the global per capita of the world is about $10.7, $10,700. But within the Commonwealth family, it is just $3,500. So you could see there's a lot of scope for growth, because most of the countries in the Commonwealth family are actually within the poor countries of the world, with so much potential. And to drive this potential and create this fortune that is sustained development across the Commonwealth, you need to support the SMEs, because these are the engine of growth, considering the amount of job they create and the impact they have, and they will be able, and this is where you have your youths who are starting entrepreneurship, building entrepreneurship, and that's where they are, and we must support them. The critical things they have is, one, it is, what you can say is, it has local peculiarities, but there are some that are across virtually all the countries, especially in developing and emerging markets. One is the issue of finance. Today, if you look at virtually all the countries, even within the Commonwealth countries, you find out that the level of funding gap within the SMEs are huge. In most countries, they will be lucky if they're able to get up to 30% of their requirements. I know in Nigeria in particular, it is below that. In Bangladesh here, it is about 30-something%. And in most countries that I saw this, is a similar situation. So the funding gap is huge, because banks and lending institutions prefer to lend to the corporates rather than lend to this engine of growth, because of, again, it has to do with issues of formalization, issues of internationalization, and other things that are associated with it. So lending to them is difficult, and they avoid it. Two is the issue of taxation. You have all sorts of local taxations that are applied to them, and everything. The regulatory environment is hostile to them. I always use Nigeria as an example. The corporates are big and everything, and can get away with so many things that the small businesses can't get away with. They have issues of infrastructure, poor infrastructure. In Nigeria, you look at electricity issues, to road, like Lord Molan said today when we were talking about Cameroon, and he said they have similar road conditions as Bangladesh. These are issues that you see in most of the emerging markets, and this affects more small businesses. They have issues where, because of lack of formalization, they are not able to explore international markets. So these are issues that affect them. To deal with these issues, the Commonwealth as a family needs to intervene in various countries, and various countries look at their policy. If they have a policy that is targeted, a favorable policies that is targeted to SMEs, to help them to formalize, have proper registrations and everything, which are happening in some countries like China and Indonesia today, that have a special ministries and departments that focus on support of SMEs. This will go a long way in helping them to formalize, help them to have all the registrations, and a competitive government having favorable policies that will support them. Again, on issue of financing, countries have to look at the overall credit of the nation and the overall this, and probably dedicate a particular percentage of credit or lending to SMEs, like it is in China. It's about 25%. And similar situation in Indonesia. I must say that credits to SMEs in Bangladesh have been quite impressive, though not what it should be. But in other countries, like in Nigeria and Africa, they need to do more. There needs to be a dedicated percentage of the overall country credit lending that should go to SMEs, being that this is the engine in which those countries can grow and be able to build sustainable development and improve the economy. You need to have a situation where not just policies, there should be a clear physical support where government are supporting businesses, a monetary support like it's happened in China and Indonesia and other places. With these favorable policies and everything, we'll be able to start turning around the economies within the Commonwealth families. Like I said before, there's opportunity for growth within the Commonwealth family if you have a situation where you have support, clear support within the SMEs, and they're giving the support for internationalization within this family. You could easily double the exports. You could easily double the intertrade within this huge family, which cuts across 5 continents, and with that, increase the overall well-being. I showed you the gap that while the average per capita is 10,700, they are 3,500. So imagine today if you double that per capita. Imagine today if you double that their GDP. Because if they are a third of the population of the world, their GDP should also be a third of the world, not 15%. So there's quite a gap that you can close if you get it right by favorable support within the Commonwealth family. And this is something that is achievable. Thank you for listening.